Yeah, no, I'm just checking to make sure we're good to call order. Called order at 8:32. Any additions, deletions to the agenda?
Nope.
Perfect. Motion to accept the agenda as presented. Councilor Olson. We have a
All in
delegate.
favor.
All in favor? Yes, sorry, it'll be easy today. Delegation from Harvest Sky Economic. Mr. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for CA O'Neill for inviting me to give a little update on what we're up to here. I didn't do a formal presentation. I hope that's okay. I just printed out our strategic plan action list here of what we've been doing for the last year. So I thought I would just go over that and we can have kind of an informal little chat. If people have questions on what we're working on, feel free to interrupt. So I'll just run the list, no particular order, just what we've got on here. So obviously, hopefully people have noticing we're doing a lot of marketing. Regionally, we're on, of course, social media. We're doing paid advertising, that kind of stuff, but we're also doing a lot of marketing out of our region, working with a consultant company for the last year, maybe give or take. That we're doing a lot of stuff in larger urban centers, so Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto. So we're really trying to go after that affordable living, advertise our region as an affordable living, good destination with a good lifestyle for families or retirees, that kind of thing. So
trade shows and stuff, or they're just injecting your material into stuff in those places?
Mostly social media is what they're doing. I've been to one trade show, went to the Edmonton Boat and Sportsman Show, and I'm going to the Calgary Home Show at the end of September, I think it is. So up at the trade show in Edmonton, we have some trades for fishing, hunting. So talk to a lot of people because that's the audience, boat and sportsman show, obviously. So it talk to a lot of people about camping and fishing and hunting and different activities. The home show had a little different focus, so that's why I brought a couple of the different cards that we got printed up here. So on one side, you can see, we're trying to attract, obviously promote our website and just have that nice family look. And then on the back, we give all the reasons why people would want to move here, affordable housing, of course, high-speed internet, healthcare, all those kinds of things. So yeah, so that's been going.
So Mark, just the specifics on the marketing in the out of town regions, because I see the local stuff on the social media. So it would be a similar stuff on social media pages in the larger centers. Is that how you're doing it? You're not any print in a newspaper or any radio or TV or anything, no?
No, not at all. So the only things we're doing that wouldn't be, I guess, considered local would be the social media. So it shows up as Facebook or Google paid advertising. We've got that company managing that for us, and it's the theme is all the stuff that's on the back, great lifestyle, affordable housing, all that kind of stuff. So it pops up and has a bit of a different visual look, of course, but the message is the same. The only other thing we're doing is right now we're doing some on-air radio advertising on Drum FM. We've got a bi-weekly spot, I think it is. We promote stuff that's going on. That has a little bit more of a tourist focus. We try and highlight activities, events that are going on. So, we promote last week, I think we would have been on and we promoted the Canada Day stuff that's happening in Hanna, for example.
So is that when I hear on Drum FM that Mark Dakota is speaking? So that's you get a certain amount of time.
Yeah, we get so it's a one-on-one with Jason Blank.
Okay. I haven't heard that. I've heard the promotion that Harvest Sky, Mark Dakota, and speaks every 2 weeks or whatever, but I haven't actually heard he speaks.
Yeah, I'm not sure what time it's on. And we did as part of that, so that'll run for up till the spring, I believe. And as part of that, we also had some just plain old radio advertising as part of the package, but that ended I think a month ago.
Okay.
I think it's in the morning because I sort of hit and miss as well with the time. So I think it's between, I don't know, 8 and 9 or somewhere around there.
Sure. We recorded the week before.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't know when they play it. I
Yeah.
assume it's in
It
the
sounds
morning.
very good.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
And we used to, Chris used to do that when he was mayor with Q91. But it
Yeah,
was,
this is on Q91 that I'm listening
is
to.
it Q91 or
Okay.
Drum FM? I always hear it on Drum FM.
I think it's on both.
I think they played on
it's on
both.
both.
'cause
Oh,
they're
are they
connected.
sisters?
Yeah.
Or are they?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
Something like that.
So
yeah.
Chris used to do meeting with the mayor or something.
I did something similar, yeah.
And,
yeah.
But that was getting pricey. He used to have sponsors and then the sponsors stopped, so we decided not to spend our money to do that, Mr. Mayor, so.
Good decision.
Yeah, so no, it's good. We get to promote, what's going on in the region, highlight events and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, we're trying to target, and as part of our tourism work, we're trying to target people that are in Drumheller, especially visiting the museum and stuff. They get, thousands and thousands of visitors every year. So even if we capture, 1% of the people that go there and come up here for an extra day trip is
Yeah.
we're trying to build. So I can talk about it a bit more in our tourism section there, but yeah, so that's why we're on the radio in Drumheller. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, trade shows, social media, still working with Insight, the company that did our rebranding and stuff. They're helping us with trade show materials. We have a Discover web page that we have a new map on there, so we're highlighting actual I guess tourist spots or different amenities. So we're updating it right now to try and include everything we can. We've been working with Lori and Emma in Youngstown and Megan over at Special Areas to get as many facilities and amenities on there. So it's a map that the website we put out there, and then it's got like I said, the golf course or the swimming pool or Prairie Oasis or the Youngstown Cafe kind of thing. So then people will see those different things to discover in our region. Go on there, click on it. There's a Google map or a link to the Google map, however it works. And they, hopefully would be driving through the area and see that and want to stop. So yeah, that's kind of the marketing. It's hopefully been successful. I you never know if some of it's actually working. We know that the real estate market is really hot in the region, people moving here from all over the country and stuff. I don't know if that's just because we're affordable and we have a great lifestyle, or if people actually see our ads. I know we're getting some feedback that people do see the ads and call us. Whether that makes them move here or not, we'll never really know, but seems to be hopefully working. So.
I'm just wondering if maybe you could ask the real estate agents if they are dealing with people that sell the house, if they maybe a little questionnaire or something to get some feedback on how they heard about Hanna. Might not a huge thing, but just where did you hear about Hanna? Period. And maybe they'll say, well, I heard on or I saw some of this material and that sort of thing. Might give you some feedback.
Yeah, it might be. I know we get lots of people at the business hub
Mhm.
coming in for the welcome packages, and we try to ask the
Mhm.
questions like, how did you find Hanna? And
Mhm.
lots of them do find it online. Again, it's hard to tell if it's because of our ad, or we know people just Google search,
Yeah. What drives them?
affordable places to live in Hanna. Like we've got, with the paid advertising, we target certain a list of keywords and search engine optimization and stuff.
Yeah, I know our neighbor bought their house online,
Yeah.
like by going online and looking. So-
Like I got a phone call on my cell phone one morning from a lady that was looking for Big Sky.
Oh.
Now, whether she was online and saw Harvest Sky, clicked on it and found my number on our website and then whatever, and thought we were the real estate, because we have links to the realtors on our page.
Yeah.
So whether, was that because she was looking for Big Sky and found our website, or vice versa? Who knows? So,
Well, we had a gentleman from Burlington, Ontario that just moved here. Yesterday was his first parcel picked up.
Awesome.
And it was kind of hilarious because I said, we have TOJ 1PO and we have POJ 1PO. POJ 1PO was Southern Ontario. TOJ 1PO. So about once a month, we get a package that's destined for Southern Ontario. And they've just moved here. They're setting up a home-based business. And so, yeah, Ontario phone number. And I'm thinking, oh, this is bad. This isn't going to work. And the same thing, they just moved here and setting up home-based business. So, yeah, this guy's from Burlington. So it's again, I don't inquire how they find Hannah, well, I do, most time it's online, and the biggest draw that I've found so far, well, there's two actually, our internet, which I didn't realize is as good as it is, and the housing prices, that's the two big draw factors for us, and the people that comes that I get to intermingle with, so.
Once you get past that, Mr. Mayor, the other thing they tend to do is then look at, are we advertising our town, which we are? And the website for the Prairie Land School Division is excellent. And they go on there and they go, people are investing in this town. They have marketing campaigns, they have excellent websites, the town website. It makes a difference because there are some towns that have nothing. And it makes a difference because they're buying them online, sight unseen, and they're literally packing their bags and going. So kudos to everybody involved. It's making a difference.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right that it's getting the message out there. It's affordable housing, like the top two on here, affordable housing and high-speed internet.
Yeah.
But even when I was in Dealey in my former life and at the business hub, you get the next questions, depending on who they are, if it's a family, how's your schools? If it's an older couple, where's the nearest healthcare?
Yeah.
Right, so, we can draw them here with the affordable housing, but it's the amenities and the lifestyle that's gonna, bring them, close the deal, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all one package, right? You can't have one without the other. Investment attraction. So right now we're working with our consultant for the next year. We've narrowed down our business attraction, investment attraction. He's finished his report and now we're actively making connections with industry. So some of the areas we're targeting, some are obvious, like hydrogen, other energy options, value-added agriculture, whether that's value-added, on the grain side. We're leaning more towards beef. How can we, help our regional producers add more value to their product before it gets shipped out? We're also looking at other things. Again, it's that affordable land and high-speed internet. So we put data mining centers and cryptocurrency as some of the targets to put out there to see how can we draw people and industry in here. So
In the local area right now, there are 7 crypto mines. And by that, I'm talking from Hanna to Garden Plains to Youngstown. Basically, in that little pocket, there's 7 different ones already in it. So.
yeah, it's an interesting area. We've talked about it, myself and the consultant that's working with us. It's, on one hand, it's a different, like, as the place where they're setting up the crypto mining, we don't care what the price of crypto is. And he puts it as, back in the gold rush days, some gold miners made money, most lost their shirts, but the guys selling the pickaxes
Big one.
made money.
Yeah.
And that's who we are.
Well, that's where I'm at. Like I sell all the piping and hardware to facilitate getting it set up.
Exactly.
And as far as understanding what a Bitcoin is, I still can't get my head around it. I've had numerous people, and the funny part of it is, when it comes to setup, they have no idea what the piping requirements are. And the one young fella, he was bound to term, we were still piping in an engine, and I said, we need to pipe it in a 2-way for start gas. And he says, no, we'll run 2 1-inch lines. I said, well, no, 2 1-inch lines are not the equivalent of 1 2-inch. She said, well, no, it's more. And I went, no, it's not. I said, well, do you trust me to tie it in? He said, yeah. I said, but what's wrong? He said, I'm not paying for it. I said, that'll be fine. I said, but yeah, it's as you said, Mark, it's the back side of it. The mining itself, I have no clue about, but the supply and services part are pretty cool. So
It's interesting they're doing that without fiber. If they're in those areas.
They have wireless, but
It's just processing. It doesn't need much bandwidth. It's just processing power.
Power.
Yeah, power supplies.
yeah. So it's cheap land and cheap, they hook up right to abandoned natural gas wells and stuff. And yeah, they have a wireless connect. So I don't know all of it, obviously. But even data centers and stuff, lots of times they're just backup hubs. So they don't need a lot of bandwidth necessarily. You set them up in the middle of nowhere where they have cheap land and hook them up to power somehow. And they just do a backup at certain times at night, boom, boom, they're done. And so they don't really even need to necessarily be hooked up to the high speed. but
Or many staff.
yeah. So yeah, they don't make lots of jobs, but any reason to get a business here, I guess will take some days.
One person was one person.
Mhm.
They all add up, so.
Well, and if they move and bring a family.
Yeah.
or whatever it comes.
And we've also, so our investment attraction person, we've hooked him into the ag center. I'll update that a little bit as we go down the list, but he's also going to help us work on the agricultural center as a paid consultant on that one for a little while we have him. So visitor attraction, so tourism, partnering with as many organizations as we can. Travel Drumheller special areas, travel special areas to the east of us. Travel Alberta, they're doing a lot of stuff. I attended a Travel Alberta road show in Drumheller, I don't know, a few weeks ago, a month ago, and they kind of said what they're targeting. So they're really trying to promote other places in Alberta besides necessarily Banff and a couple of the hot spots that always get. I mean, everybody goes to Banff, so why promote it, right? But so they had, I think, 12 or 15 spots they're going to try and highlight with international marketing campaigns. So Drumheller's on their list. So we're really going to try and again piggyback off Drumheller just to attract whatever we can out here. So if it's a family staying in Drumheller for 3 or 4 days, come and spend the day in Hanna and check us out, and hopefully that builds over time. So and again, inside our marketing company has been helping us with development of our tourism products. So really we learned early on, or I mean, it's not like we had to learn, or not like we have a magic bullet, but you need some reason to attract people here. So we're really helping like the golf course do promotions. I've been helping them with some of their marketing materials, some of their on-site materials, some video production we're still in the middle of doing, because that's a draw to town. It's a great little gem that we have here that will bring people, not necessarily families, but golfers, couples, retired couples, and they stay overnight in a hotel and buy a couple meals at a restaurant. That's money for us. We're working with the Roundhouse Society, trying to bring them or help them get out there a little bit more, doing some stuff, exciting stuff there. So yeah, just trying to touch on what draws we can have, and then when they're here, we try and promote the other stuff like museums, downtown shops, that kind of thing, to say, okay, you've come here for the golf course, spend a day and check out downtown, go to the museum. So we're building itineraries. Like I said, we did the fishing and hunting ones. The next one we're going to have is kind of like a museum / tourism type focus on the draw. So we've got the Back in Time Museum in Youngstown, the museum here. So some of those other kind of draws to the region. So resident attraction, we kind of talked about this under marketing, and obviously, we talked about this, the affordable housing. We're working with Wanda Dykow over special areas 3 and 4 on a regional housing study, just to try and identify gaps and see what other areas we can try and tackle. So we know we've got the lodge is about 50% full, but what other gaps are that we can maybe attract people. So we know people are moving here for the affordable housing, and it's good economic development. They've been buying the cheaper houses and then spending a lot of money on renovations, which is good for our local economy. But between cheaper housing and the lodge, what other areas are we missing in the region? What other opportunities are we, or could we capitalize on? So we're going to do a housing study there, and hopefully that can help fill in the blanks a little bit. Harvest Sky facilitate business. Always looking for ways that we can maybe be a little more proactive. Just a couple of the projects. Really working with, and this will be more in the Educational Resource Center, but working with Prairieland on their international student program. So they're obviously doing the international students, and they've got that covered with billet families, but is there a way that Harvest Sky can help with a dormitory system? So, that Educational Resource Center that we did the study on said, build a dorm and have that with educational resources like the Learning Center and that kind of thing. So is there a way that Harvest Sky could facilitate building a dorm system that would then help Prairieland with their international students, help the Learning Center with the adult programs? So just kind of thinking a little bit more outside the box is how can Harvest Sky actually be in business or help facilitate other business?
Mark, would there be an appetite with the lodge being at half capacity of maybe trying to work something out that way as far as having a floor or a part of it
Is it doing?
utilized, I guess for lack of a better term.
You mean like
Is it
in the
dorm?
dorm
Yeah.
situation, yeah.
Yeah, actually, we did talk to them. When Ron Davies was here running the international program, we met with the manager over at the Hanna Lodge here, and I know Prairieland has talked with the Acadia Foundation for Consort and possibly Oyen. So they have looked at it. There's some logistical.
Oh, no, I didn't say it was gonna be easy.
Oh, yeah, I know. And it's not like, even when we were talking to the manager here, she was great. She said, oh, it'd be great for the seniors to have kids and
Yeah.
in a great situation. The logistical part of having a dorm mom or a resident assistant there to watch the kids, the food, where they're gonna eat, that kind of thing. So there's just some of those logistical things to potentially work out,
Yeah.
but
No,
they're having those conversations. So yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
We're having them at every meeting.
Yeah.
Because we've got to put bums in beds. But the CEO of Acadia Foundation has retired. She submitted her resignation, so there's gonna be a bit of changes because we have to get a new person in charge. But hopefully that'll be a positive thing in the long run, that we'll be able to focus on getting bums in beds. I think it'd be amazing to have, but you can have a dynamic, a third floor completely restricted. And with a separate elevator access, there's a lot of things that can be done. And most of them, you could have one room set up where there's a kitchen and everybody eats like a dorm would be. So there's a lot of potential to it.
Yeah, no, and I know there's potential, there's logistics, and Ron Davies has taken it's my understanding he's taken a job up in Edmonton
Yeah, he's
area.
leaving us, he is.
So,
Yeah.
Just one of those things where there's opportunity there, but
Change. yeah.
change happens.
The dominoes are falling the wrong direction, right?
Yeah, so again, but that's where, Harvest Sky, we try and say, hey, Acadia and Hay Prairieland, if you need help, we're a
we
resource.
could prop them dominoes back up.
Yeah,
potentially.
well, exactly, right, and talking, I had a meeting the other day with Superintendent McKaig and Deputy Superintendent Nielsen. And we talked about different options and how can Harvest Sky be involved. Because the school division, and rightfully so, they're in the business of education.
Mhm.
They're not in the business of business. So, but Harvest Sky is a business organization. So how can we do the business side and partner with them to do the education, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I was in Youngstown for the water commission and, seeing the big greenhouse and stuff we've done in Ontario and, with back to our egg center, we're talking about maybe that's something that we can piggyback backwards around and, not necessarily right up front with it, but bring it in the side door, but not in a better term, so.
It'd be nice to see maybe a gourmet cooking program set up in the lodge where the students could learn how to cook for a large number of people, especially for the seniors, given that their dietary needs are maybe a little bit more in demand and
Mhm.
with the school, so.
So special areas, irrigation, they're still working on irrigation. So we did the initial couple studies and passed it off to them. They're taking the next steps on some of their stuff. But they've also got some follow-up work that we're helping them with on kind of on different areas. So that's still in play. The Ag Center, yeah, good stuff happening there. We had a couple of, I don't want to call them fluffy meetings to begin, just kind of gauging interest, getting people excited. And then we had a meeting last night where we formally set up a board. It's not, it's a volunteer board still, so it probably is not the way it's going to look once we get to the point of moving forward on construction, that kind of stuff. But it was a really great meeting last night. We had a number of people step up. So we've got a chairperson is Wanda Peterson. He's going to take the point on that one. Wanda Couts is going to be the vice chair. Katie Campbell's put her name in for secretary. Cindy Hickle is going to be our treasurer. And then we've got 3 committees that we're starting with. And again, this is all very fluid, right?
You missed another one, Elaine Monroe.
Yeah, so the three committees are, the fundraising committee is Elaine Monroe. She's kind of new to the area, but she's very excited. Business and service attraction, Dr. Tamara Kwashnik is back to help with us anyway. She's not moving back, but she's going to be the director on that committee. And then Dravino put her name up to be the site planning and architecture committee lead. So we've got our board in place, and we're going to start with the committees and putting it out there, trying to bring all the pieces together. It's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of time, but I'm excited about the potential that has. So, and then Education Resource Center, we kind of talked about that. Who knows what that's going to look like, but it's still on our radar. Economic development readiness. Over the first year that since I was involved in a bit, we did quite a bit of that, getting the area ready on incentive programs and stuff. There's not a lot we do right now on readiness because we're kind of at that level. I guess the town of Hanna business license thing, I don't know if we'll ever get back to revisiting that. It's been on the plate for a while, but some of those
So
things.
question mark on the land inventory commercial building.
Hmm.
So is there a website, or is there like, so if I'm somebody just coming to town looking for, a potential building, land inventory, what would you give me?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So that's still on the list because we're still working with the consultant, even though that project's basically done. So the website thing originally, we were going to have, an inventory of commercial buildings and have links to for residential, but really logistically it was going to be very difficult because either it was going to have to be maintained manually, which means I'm going in there once every couple of weeks, month to update all the listings, which would be a lot of work. And then there's if somebody's doing it manually, then there's the chance for
Errors.
And the last thing you want to do is make an error on somebody else's real estate listing, right? So then it was, how do we figure out for a program to automatically update from MLS while you need all kinds of connections and different things there. So we're kind of looking at just a backdoor solution where there would be a website that I would have access to, that it would search MLS and search realtor listings and put information there. So if somebody was looking for something, I could use that as a resource, but it wouldn't be live to the public in case things haven't updated or stuff's wrong. And then I could, usually if somebody really wants, if they want site selection stuff, I help them. If they want, if they specifically know what they're looking for, then I would pass them to a realtor.
So this kind of ties in, and we haven't got to that section yet, I don't think, but the water power logistics report, because I guess I envisioned somehow the land available and the water power logistics facilitated, so somebody could say, well, this piece of land is available and it has water, it has power, it has gas, or whatever logistics are available for that site. So
yeah, that was the initial hope.
okay.
And we've got the logistics ones up and running on our website.
Okay.
So it's got all the other information that you talked about, but the real estate piece is very hard to put in and accurately put in. So we just haven't found a way. And again, because you're dealing with private real estate listings and MLS rules and all that other kind of stuff, we're not realtors. So it's a tricky one.
Okay, no, thank you.
No, for sure. And then community development, still working with obviously you guys at the town on different projects. Most notably the signage project right now. Trying to get that done and through, and then still we're going to have our discussions on downtown revitalization still, and some of the other projects. Working closely with Kim and the rest of the administration. The Youngstown solar project, that's being worked on as we speak. Then we have a consultant looking at the solar project, basically putting some solar infrastructure on like their arena, community center, one of those facilities. And then Youngstown community development, very much the same as the Hanna stuff, signage and downtown work and that kind of thing. So
Under the community development piece, we've got community-based transport golf carts. Is that coming forward?
it's on my list, and before Adrian left, he sent me an email with a whole bunch of stuff a long time ago. And it's one of those things, it's here and it's always here and it's here, it's here, you know how it is, so.
So Mark, maybe touch a little bit on the commercial kitchen.
Oh, yeah,
business
thanks.
incubation project.
I forgot about the commercial kitchen, thank you. Yeah, so we worked with Kim in the town on that community center idea, the one where we're gonna be able to rent that space out. Very gracious that the town was able to put that forward. We have some excited, hopefully excited people that want to use the facility. But we've also started looking over at the Lions Hall kitchen to see, is there a way that we can expand or upgrade that to be a commercial kitchen to where it would, you wouldn't have to rent out the community center, so that wouldn't tie up that whole facility. There's a separate commercial kitchen over there that could be used for any number of things, whether it's food prep for businesses, courses. You know, if somebody wants to put on a bunch of cooking courses, or school tie-ins, or, you know, if it's just people that cook stuff to sell at farmers markets. So we're in the middle of that one right now. We've done some preliminary work on a rough site plan. We talked to a few people like Karen Miller, for example, on, hey, what would you like as a caterer? What would you like to see? We talked to Robin Menick, you know, it's somebody who makes food for sale, farmers markets, that type of thing. So we've had some real small conversations with some people that would be users to say, hey, like, what would you like to see? What would be nice in the kitchen? We've talked to obviously Alberta Health Services to get the requirements for a commercial kitchen. And next, we're going to do get some actual measurements and pencil out a rough draft to see what would it take to turn that into a commercial kitchen space. So, and then it's, you know, is there a need for a big one, and is there the money to make it happen? So
I was really surprised that 2 weeks ago, I was at the Acadia Foundation, the Acadia Valley meeting for PEP. And it's a brand new facility and they have a beautiful big kitchen. They did not grade it commercial. And it seemed like such a shame. And I asked Pete Raffa, why didn't they put the extra? And they said it was so much money and it's ongoing maintenance to make sure it continually passes. And they decided not to bother. And I thought that was surprising, but it was that much more money. So have you looked at some of the costs? Are they that exorbitant?
we haven't got to that. So
Okay.
we wanted to get the kind of a rough layout first and then go to a contractor, and then
You find
that's our
out?
next step.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
if
it would be so useful. So many people would use it. Yeah.
we think so, and
I think so
especially
too.
with you know, food, the buzz around food security and
Safety.
locally grown and all that kind of stuff, right? So we're really trying to capture, I guess you want to say, the positives out of the COVID situation. So again, you know, work from home and families moving here, or food security and people wanting to prep their own food. So trying to you know, go on some of those things and partner. Even, you know, I was at a meeting yesterday in Red Deer for rural economic development and looking at some of their initiatives. You know, for example, they're boosting their veterinary, or wanting to boost their veterinary spaces at the U of C. So if we have an ag center that needs a vet with education, how can we go to the U of C and partner with that? Or
Partner with them.
yeah, the whole foods, you know, security thing with supply chains and everything that's going on in the world right now. How do we capture that kind of stuff? So
just back to commercial kitchen for a second. So while they're, you know, investigating the Lions Hall and going through their work on that side, we've basically established a new rate for our kitchen of $25. And what that will do is, if someone needs to prepare something in a commercial kitchen to resell or whatever, they can. We've had some of our local caterers have booked our kitchen and used it when they've got a large function and they don't have the space. Our concern was, that's our number one building. So the $25 price comes with a condition that you can be bumped. So if you've got it booked for this Thursday to cook a bunch of stuff to take it to farmer's market, and we get a booking for the building that includes the kitchen, you get bumped. I think we've got 48 hours kind of, so it's not an immediate one, but within 48 hours, you can be bumped from that space. So just trying to fill a gap until we can find a better permanent solution. So
And who would they contact to book that?
really, they contact the office here,
Raylene?
yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm a little bit, we'll see how it goes. I am on $25 isn't a lot of money.
I was gonna say, does that cover the cost of power?
Well, that I'm not as, maybe as worried about, I'm more worried about, you know, if the impression of the person who's using it was $25, they don't clean it as well as they should clean it to be ready for the next group, and I don't want it to be a ton of work then for us to have to clean everything after they leave, or otherwise it doesn't make any sense, so. But we'll see how that goes, willing to try it and
No.
see how it goes.
Give them a big thou shalt when they come in the door,
Yeah.
or they won't have an opportunity to book it again.
It's, yeah, the 20, absolutely, the $25 is quote unquote meaningless, but we heard, we were talking to one local business that's buying product out of town right now, and they're like, well, before it was $150 to rent the kitchen because it's a bigger facility, so it didn't make sense if they're only selling a few bits and pieces of product, but they still need a commercial grade kitchen to be able to make the stuff to resell it. So it's like, well, how can we fill that gap right now? So it's,
25 is awesome.
it's enough of a token just to make sure that people aren't booking it for free, right? And just using it to do whatever, but it's manageable for anybody who's just gonna sell a little bit of product.
That's great.
So yeah, that's about all I have on the backside, just some of the stuff we completed last year. I'm not gonna run through all that unless you have questions on anything, but
The one thing, Mark, that popped into my head, and I'm not sure where you'd want to plug it in, but you mentioned marketing. I know some of the smaller centers are able to market their arenas and ball diamonds to the Calgarys, the Red Deers of the world, and, you know, book a hockey tournament, for example. Is that something that we should do?
we absolutely could. Yeah, it hasn't really been on our radar just because we're tackling the move here
Yeah.
segment, but yeah, it's definitely something we could look at. It's,
Yeah, no, I mean, I see the super leagues, for example, with hockey, they're located, and actually that's what's keeping the Viking arena
Yeah.
open. Is the super league in Viking, and so I know they rent the Dealey arena. I'm not sure the rate or anything, but I'm not slamming Dealey by any stretch of imagination, but ours is a little more current
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't want to bump our minor hockey, but as if we can generate some income, then I think we have to look at it. So especially the minor hockey number or team count dropping slightly. So
Yeah, it's just, and I think as we go down that road, it's just communication with minor hockey, because Hockey Super League will want specific weekends and they'll want those weekends. And so it's just a matter of communicating with minor hockey. Minor hockey right now has tremendous flexibility, which they like, and it's good for them. But we bring some of these other things out. It's good for the town. It's good from an economic development perspective, but it does take some of their flexibility away. So it's just a matter of having that discussion. I think they would be open to it, so.
yeah, and I've dropped a couple of hints, and maybe it's some more we can promote. Like, for example, Drumheller doesn't have their curling rink this year, right? But we have a great curling rink, so I think I've dropped that hint a couple times on my radio chats, but certainly something that we could poke a little bit more. But you don't want to poke somebody else's misfortune, but
Yeah.
there's a way to capitalize on it.
You're providing a service for those that are still wanting to maintain, stay in curling and stuff, so, yeah, we can offer it, that's great.
Yeah, thanks. That's really all I have for.
any other questions?
Is that all you've been doing? My goodness, thank you for all the work that you've been doing. This is amazing to see so much progress.
Thanks. It's you know, I can't take all the credit. We've got good partners and, Western Economic Diversification, now Prairies Can with the feds provide a lot of coal transition funding, which has allowed us to hire a lot of consultants and other companies to do lots of the work, right? Like the marketing is, I'm helping do a lot of liaison work, but I'm not doing all that work.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, but you're the, yeah. that working
I'm a
hard.
gatekeeper, I guess, as much as anything at this point. But
But thank you.
Yeah, the interesting challenge for us as a town and as a region is gonna happen next year.
Yeah,
We've been fortunate to be able to do a lot of marketing using other dollars.
mhm,
Significant other dollars. And the other thing too, and we need to move forward on, I know they're working on it over there, but our business hub idea and initiative is backed right now by a lot of federal dollars that are not going to be there after March of 23. So how we move forward and what that looks like and what the implications are to, the local partners. We have to work through that with the learning center, the Harvest Sky Group, Chamber of Commerce.
mhm.
So we have to try and get a vision and what the business hub is gonna look like post federal dollars. And it will be there's significant federal dollars going into that right now to get it to where it is and how it's been operating, but those are coming to an end. So
it's a really good resource, and I don't say that just because I'm over there, but like at the meeting yesterday in Red Deer for rural economic development, so we had obviously lots of people from communities across central Alberta, even some from larger centers that consider themselves rural, that I had to giggle at a little bit and pull my foot out of my mouth a couple times. But anyway, some of the consistent themes on business attraction and supporting existing business, we're having resources like we have at the business hub, and Levi Hayworth right now doing that social media for small business. That's a provincial grant that I believe he's working under. But so all the communities, everybody there recognize that our businesses need supports like that, especially if it's a small business, a mom and pop shop that is good at what they do, but doesn't have the time to do marketing or bookkeeping or all the other stuff that's maybe necessary to make them successful or grow that business. So everybody recognizes it's a need, and thankfully we have that need kind of filled right now. But is the province or who's going to step up and fill that once the funding runs out, like Kim said. So
was there indication that would be something that they might be looking at?
No, it was still a information gathering. So it's part of a process. I know it was a few months ago, Minister Horner had an online meeting, and I think you were on that one.
No, I was aware of it. Yeah.
Okay. So it was kind of a preliminary information gathering one a few months ago. It's like, okay, rural economic development, what do people need, et cetera, et cetera. They did those, of course, across the province, gathered a bunch of information, found some consistent themes. And the one yesterday was kind of saying, okay, this is what we heard. Is this a look, are we in the right direction? Is this the right values themes before we put together a report? So
what was one of the themes they were hearing was that they needed, the smaller rural communities needed some financial support to establish these types of resource centers.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. No, for sure. And that was the first thing I said, because like I said, there was a really wonderful lady had sat down at the table I was at, because they had little breakout type tables. And I overheard somebody, oh, so where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm with Edmonton Global, that economic development that services
Metro Edmonton.
So Fort Saskatchewan, Sherwood Park, all those. And she said, we consider ourselves rural. I giggled a little bit, but then as we started having our conversations with the facilitators, I said, I really, no offense to this wonderful lady, but we have to define rural in this province, because whether it's grant funding or any other support programs, You know, we are out here in remote rural Alberta, call us what you want, competing against Airdrie and Strathmore and Fort Saskatchewan that all think they're rural, which, you know, everybody in Alberta thinks they're rural because we're a rural province. But really, when it comes to funding and programs, like there is a definite difference between Hanna and Youngstown and Airdrie.
Well, just by population alone.
Well, and that's what it comes down to is numbers, right? So even for Levi's position, it's a grant that when Tammy and DeRay were filling out the grant paperwork, they were politely told that we didn't have enough population to qualify. So they had to expand our region out enough to get enough population so that the province would look at us for the business support. So it's like, okay, here's something we really need in rural Alberta, which is support, which nobody else can afford or find in rural Alberta, but we're apparently too small to access it. Like, too rural, yeah, so that was some of the messages we again keep, you know, at these functions, keep trying to hammer home is like, you know, not every program has to treat, in my opinion, everybody the same in the province. Right, like I'm not saying we want to take away from Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer, or anywhere else, but the rules don't have to be the same, right? So we'll see where it goes. I know the government, was it 10 years ago, did a rural economic development study and plan, like, you know, back a few governments ago had done something, and that's, you can find that online, and here we are recreating another one. So let's see, right in time for an election.
Exactly. With the surplus budget.
Yeah.
Recommendation that council thanks Mark Dakota, manager of Harvest Sky Development Corporation, for his update on council activities and Harvest Sky's undertaking. Motion by council vote. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for your
Thank you
time.
very
Thanks, Mark.
I noticed you're gonna talk about signage project update. Is that something I should?
If you have time and you wanna hang around, we could, I guess if the mayor's
Yeah.
willing, we could kind of adjust the
We could
agenda and
juggle
go
the
to the
agenda.
signage stuff,
Yeah.
so.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to hear
Yeah,
you guys are
Harvest
at.
Sky is heavily involved in that.
Yeah,
from a,
for
you know,
sure.
funding perspective, so.
Thank you.
So I don't know where on the signage project, Mr. Mayor, I know at the last council meeting, I threw in the newest concepts. But we didn't get a real good chance to talk about it, and so I thought we put that all here to see where everybody's at in terms of the signage project. So we know that the first time we met with Zoe, she presented two types of entrance signs. She presented what she calls gateway sign, and she presented the wayfinding sign. I don't think there's been any issues with the wayfinding signage. That's been kind of out there for a while. The monument signs that didn't seem to be, or gateway signs, I get the terminology right. The gateway signs, the gateway signs, which would be the two signs that we would, for lack of a better say, that we would be able to establish right by the tracks when you're coming into town. And then, of course, the three entrance signs. There was more discussion on the entrance signs in terms of what people liked, what people didn't like. And as I've said before, signage is a hot potato in terms of look. It's very subjective. Some people like this, some people like that, some people want to mix two together. So she did gather, Zoe did gather, and in the last bit, there was a revised gateway or monument entrance sign that, you know, wanted some feedback on as we move forward. So that would be the newest one. That's her last revision, is that one. So I guess I'm looking for feedback, comments. I know we might not all agree, but in terms of consensus to give them some a direction.
And that Hanna is backlit, correct?
Yes.
I do kind of like that, coloring better than the white.
So Lori, can you go back? I know the signage, because graphics was in two different areas. So the presentation that she gave us, yeah, so if you scroll down here, keep going, you'll find the first two concepts. So those were the first two entrance signage concepts right there that we discussed, I think, at the last council info meeting. And then Zoe took the comments, took the feedback, and created this. I'm not sure if anybody has comments one way or the other, what they like, what they don't like.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. The
Yeah.
only thing is I thought there was another layer in that curve, another layer of green or aqua or whatever you call it.
There is three. You actually are three.
There are three
Yeah.
colors.
There's the light teal, then the brown, and then the darker teal. See on the bottom part is darker.
Okay,
So
yeah,
actually three
sorry,
separate
yeah.
layers.
And actually, I thought that was just shadowing, so no, that's fine. Yeah, I like that. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but that's because I'm old, so I'll be fine.
Lori, does that fit your font requirements? Like, is that lives the lifestyle? Is it proper? Yeah, I like it.
Counselor Kroll,
It appeared like on the previous one with the white background that H was a little bigger. Does that make a difference or not? I don't,
Those are details, I think, that
Doesn't
would be
matter to
done when
me.
the final design, once the sign company. does
Yeah,
the
I
Final
agree if they
design,
want-
this is just,
If they want a piece of feedback, I'd agree with that.
yeah.
Larger logo.
Larger H. Yeah.
thank you.
And I would still like to see, and I know there'll be a little bit of controversy around this, but I still strongly feel that having proud to be the home of Nickelback or home of Nickelback on there, maybe as a banner under Live the Lifestyle is important.
Yeah, I'm not so much because we've already got all sorts of stuff on other buildings. We've got other people that are very, I think are entitled, not entitled, but are just as deserving.
There are definitely other people, but they haven't sold the records and gained the attention and maybe don't have a Facebook following about the sign, the Quebec sign at Hanna.
Yeah, well, I
Not that
guess
it's all
that is,
positive, but
I
just
guess
wanted
was
to
our,
express
was
my
my
opinion
opinion
on
on
that.
that, yeah. So.
So, yeah, so any, like, are we good to give her direction and move forward? So the next steps, obviously, a lot of this will come back to, we haven't gone out to tender, we haven't done anything in that regard, so they have provided an estimated pricing, whether they're, it blows me away the cost, but so they have provided estimated pricing, so the entrance signs are estimated at close to $60,000 a sign. So that would be $180,000 for those three signs. The gateway signs, the two of them are 12 each, so another 25,000 there. And the wayfinding signs are, I think, around $6,000 a sign, and I think there's 17 of them that have to go. And then, of course, then there's signage that would be replaced on our buildings, for example, in some of our parks, with our logo and our identity. So we're probably pushing, close to the $400,000 or $500,000 price tag to be able to do everything if their estimates are accurate. We haven't budgeted any money, so we're looking back at with Mark and some feedback from Mark. So in his applications to Western Economic Diversification, when we first started, there was a capital component of signs that I believe was 50,000 for Hanna. But what's transpired through the process is there were a number of cost savings on the reports and different things. So we're, I guess, anticipating that we can roll those cost savings on those reports and studies that were done into this project, both here and in Youngstown. We're hoping to get, confirmation, I don't know if you have a date yet when your Western Economic Diversification people are planning to come out. But it's kind of mid-July was last I heard, Mark. So we want to, before we're going to make any commitments financially to anybody on signage, we have to have confirmation as to how much they will put towards these. If they put the full amount in, we probably can do all of this. If they give us partial funding, then we'll be back before council to say, and we might have some direction from Western Economic Diversification or Prairies and what they will fund, and it might be for economic development, it might be more, they think the wayfinding signage is the priority, so they might give us funding for wayfinding signage, not entrance and gateways. So I know they look nice and I know it'd be nice to do, but if we don't have the funding to do those, we don't have funding to do those unless it is a priority of council and council wishes to fund them from another pocket and do that. But that's a decision for a later date, so.
That's what,
Because this is then, live the lifestyle, whatever. Is there special areas gonna contribute to any signage for Hanna and special and, Youngstown at all? Or?
No, they, I don't know if we even talked, Mark, with special areas. I know special areas does have
Okay.
entrance signs
Yeah, they have that all.
when you cross into their municipal boundaries. But I think we've been focused primarily on the two urbans in the Harvest Sky region, so.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so originally as part of our CCTI funding project signage was that because we made the case where it's economic development. Kim's right that the wayfinding signage, would probably be the number one if we had to pick out of the three categories.
Or if Western Economic Diversification had to pick.
Yeah, so and again, the case was made that wayfinding signage and downtown revitalization, all that kind of goes hand in hand. So when there was money for signage, that was kind of the top. Now, as Kim's absolutely right, we've found cost savings in other areas under some of that community development portion, so that if we have the money and again, if Prairies would approve it to roll in the rest of the signage and that kind of thing. The thing I would caution is this is all time sensitive. This money has to be spent before next March. And if we're talking about a program with signage, you're talking construction season. So, and if they're coming out in middle of July is where we would really like to hit them with the yay or nay
In the package.
So, line those up to where we want to know the cost certainty of, I know the quotes are one thing, but until you go out for tender, you don't really know the full scale of the money. So kind of at the point where we need some concrete decisions so that we can, yes, approve the funding, yes, get the money spent, et cetera, because we are starting to see the
so
time
if
crunch.
we were to go with a, and this is just me thinking, our priority, and I'm not saying it has to be this, wayfinding first, gateway second, building third, and monument signing fourth. It's like, so we'd have to set a priority system, or should we set a priority system in place?
I don't know if we need to, it wouldn't hurt. I don't know if it's critical, but
No, I'm not saying, I'm just, so
Yeah.
that we have a plan,
yeah,
so that because obviously this is all starting to come to where we
Yeah.
need to.
I just don't know if we want to go to WED with our priority listing, because if it gives them
Give them one.
Gives them an out.
it gives them an out and go, oh, well, they kind of thought about if we don't give them all the money, where they're gonna go. And Mark's argument is you gave us so much money for a community development project. We spent a small portion of that allotment And some of the things that come out of the report that you commissioned were signage. And so this is just implementing, you know, the recommendations in the report that you commissioned. So, and, you know, if we don't spend it there, and that's the other thing, if they're not gonna agree to allow us to spend a significant amount here, we want to then try and capitalize using those dollars on something else before they take it away. So, and I know talking with the signage people, they know the deadlines too, and one of their thoughts are, well, at least possibly what you could do is you could have the key thing would be having the foundation and the sign bases put in before the end of the construction season, and then you could have the signs fabricated and done and then installed, you know, through the, you know, decent days during the winter or whatever, you know, because I know time's getting tight, and I don't know, you know, how aggressive they are on their timelines. I know we've had the money. I know there's lots of arguments, and we've talked about it on our senior amenity zone project, getting interest from contractors to do the work. And I know we've extended the deadline. I had an email from 818 yesterday wondering, they'd had a request from one of the interested contractors to see if we could extend the deadline again, because they're having trouble getting pricing and sourcing, you know, site furnishings for the project. So, so I know there's some supply chain issues out there. I know there's some, you know, other economic factors that are slowing some things down, whether they would take that into consideration to move forward. I don't know. So, but I guess I'm looking from council as if you're okay if we're moving forward basically with this package. And then seeing how we move forward with WED, and we get some confirmation from WED. I don't want to necessarily go out. I know you can do it. I don't like to go out to tender with a big package, knowing that we might have to then tell like people who spent time putting the tender in, oh, that's out, that's out, that's out, that's out. So
Well, you lose credibility in a hurry.
yeah, for anything future. So I'd like to kind of hopefully get some clarification from WED, and then if WED says, yeah, we're good, we're okay with this, and then we can simply go, because Youngstown's in the same boat as us. They've got their concepts. My understanding, they're happy with what has been presented to them. I don't know if you have any.
I haven't talked to Emma on it. I think they were.
According to Emma, I talked to her briefly at I think at the Palliser thing, and she said that they loved it. Of course, that's Emma. Yeah, oh, council they loved what 818 showed them, and so they're kind of, I think, we are now, if we're comfortable with this, we have the package, and the intention all along was to put both projects together as part of a tender to hopefully get a better bang for a buck. So.
Any other questions?
So larger H, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Colors are okay,
Yeah.
materials are okay.
On the gateway side, is it all black or is that just strange? It's dark green.
I'd have to look.
Oh, like there's no color on the lettering.
On the vertical?
No. There might
Dark
be
Dark
another-
gray.
Offset.
Steel town logo. Offset from panel, light pine wood veneer panel. Dark green stainless steel town
I
logo.
like the colors.
If it's lit, do you think it's?
This one's not lit. I don't.
It's not, I think it will stand out. I think we've got
It'll
poor
fall.
graphics.
Okay, any other questions, concerns?
I like it. If I had a choice on which to go first, it would be the wayfinding signs. I think our wayfinding signs are in worse condition.
Well, I think we can probably come up with a consensus that that's
Yeah.
would be our priority.
And it's our assumption too, that would be the Fed's first priority as well.
Mr. Olson, anything? You're kind of,
No, I like it.
you're kind of fashionable guy.
Oh, absolutely, that's my reputation. I agree. No, I like it.
You work hard on that.
Okay, so we'll get a motion to accept the sign project as packages information and to proceed with our concept, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, with concepts. Motion, with Council Kroll, all in favor? Carried. This one,
Thank you.
no, awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
You bet. See you guys later.
Yeah, that's-
CAO report,
Okay, Mr. Mayor, just a couple of things that I want to run through. We've talked about a few things already. So AUMA convention. So it is September 21 to 23 in Calgary this year. They have put the hotel room blocks out. The challenge always in Calgary is the prices are higher. And so any of the hotel rooms are in close to or in excess of $300 a night. The other thing that I don't like in Calgary is when they host it in Calgary is you have to book a minimum, have to have a minimum 2 nights. So Councillor Murphy, we booked 9 rooms and then Councillor Murphy says, oh, I can't make it, I can't stay, I can't go. You are paying for those two nights minimum. So I just wanted to get it in your thoughts as to, you know, if you want to attend, great. We have budget dollars for council members to attend, both the accommodation, registration, the whole package, but I wanna, you know, don't want to book rooms until I know you're confident that those are gonna work. And I know sometimes there's emergencies that can come up late in the game that you have no control over, but
with the rooms, just because I'm
Yeah.
a cheap guy.
Yeah.
Would it be better maybe to look outside of the core and do the Uber thing or taxi thing or? Like I
it
realize,
certainly is an option.
because I know when we go to the Grey Cup, I mean, obviously where the Spirit of Edmonton is and all the festivities are, those hotel rooms are very expensive, like I'm talking.
Yeah.
Well, this range
Yeah,
or higher.
yeah.
So what we'll do is we will stay out in bed and breakfast somewhere.
Yeah.
And commute. It's not convenient, but it's substantially cheaper, like, cause you can get an Uber in, well, for example, in Hamilton, I think the most expensive Uber was $21. So I mean, if you take an Uber twice in a day to get to where you're going, it's $40. And like I said, we stayed in a bed and breakfast, I think it was $120 a night, so it more than compensated. And again, I know it's not convenient, I know it's not where the hub of the action is and everything. I know in Edmonton, there was some activities at the craft in the Weston and so on and so forth. But I just, from a fiscal
Yeah.
standpoint,
Yeah. No, that certainly is an option. I guess it's a balance of economics over convenience, as you
Yeah.
say. Because at the end of the day, if you're in one of those downtown hotels, if there's a break between one group and another, you can return to your hotel, you can get rid of your jackets or whatever
propaganda.
to change whatever you want to do. And versus
Yeah.
then rather than Uber back out and then Uber back in, then you're finding, you know, you've got to find a couple hours you've got to kill. And so it definitely is convenience. It's balancing, you know, if you get a hotel room for $150 a night, you know, is it worth spending $300 or $400 per counselor to have that convenience to be able to walk to everything and go back to your room when you need to and want to, so.
Well, I think it would depend if everyone is in favor and we all go as a group. You know, everyone then puts them together as only one Uber or whatever to get where you're going and you just live with it. You know, do you really have to change? You know, it's just planning to.
No, it's
make things-
the convenient thing. If you need to
Sure,
slip
and-
back, and I'll look at Sandra because I know when she was up there last time, she was working.
Yeah.
Whether there was a couple hours that she could slip back to
Slip
her
back to
room
home, yeah.
and work for a couple of hours and then
Yeah.
come back, you know, it's things like that, and again, again, it's total convenience. You're paying for that. You would be paying for that
Sure, yeah.
convenience. So we don't have to make a decision today. I just wanted to, put that. I don't even know if you guys were aware of the dates yet, or had even looked at your calendars.
Where's, oh, is it at a convention center, or do you know where it's being held?
Yeah, it'll be downtown. Calgary has their TELUS Convention Center down on Stevens Avenue Mall and down by the Calgary Tower in that vicinity. And the nice thing, although end of September weather's pretty good. Most of those hotels are all interconnected and you don't even have to go outside, so.
We've been on your shortcuts before.
Yeah, that one failed. That was a fail.
Sorry, I just had to bring that
That
up.
was a fail. I led you astray.
So you
just-
are a good leader, because
Yeah.
you didn't get us to where we need to go.
I got you there, it just was a little longer. So, yeah, just want you to think about that. Think about the dates, think about, what will work for you. We talked about the seniors amenity zone project, did want to spend a little bit of time talking about, I know Councilor Olson has been approached, and I'll let him speak. I don't know if it's the same person that approached me, about, concerns about speed in Shaker Crescent Alley. I know that alley is heavily used as a shortcut for a lot of the people to get in and out. And there's been some concern about speeding in there, and the suggestion from a local resident. So I don't know how many people you did talk to, Kyle, but about installing some temporary seasonal speed bumps. So kind of the rubberized ones that would be driven in with a stake and could be pulled up and put back in and out. So any thoughts? I did talk to Sergeant Wellsman, and I emailed him again yesterday. He said he would have something to me today. He gave me the indication they were going to be spending some time monitoring speeds on the alley just to kind of get a feel for it and be able to provide us some information, but I don't have that information yet, so.
What is the speed limit in that?
No, I think
It's the only
that
one
one says
posted at
20. I think it's posted at
It's the only alley that's posted even.
Yeah.
Because there's a history of issues there.
And they
You
do.
actually have a speed limit posted?
Oh, yeah.
And I've got family there, and I mean, they were so fed up with it too. I mean, people just dug ruts. And if nothing else, they're more satisfied to hear a vehicle bottom out and hit it hard. Which I mean was.
And they do
takes the
fly up
first
and down
back.
that alley,
It's
because I travel up there.
It's such a shortcut with the design of this subdivision for so many people that's their primary access in and out.
It's also the primary access of a lot of kids walking, and that
To
T
school.
intersection of stop signs does not get the proper attention. It's younger drivers. Unfortunately, they're hit with that because everybody sees it, and it's when your kids are impacted. And I witnessed, my family witnessed somebody rolling through and power slide through there, and there were kids that had to jump to the fence as a vehicle slid through. So it's pretty scary. So when people see that, they get pretty emotional, and there's rightfully so. And that's a solution that's done in several small towns. When I started looking around, those big rubber speed bumps, throw them out there.
Well, there's one over by the golf course too, so in that little, like a speed bump that was installed.
That's Dave's speed, slow Dave down.
That's
Yeah, no,
that's
I
a
know.
permanent one.
Well, I realize that.
Yeah,
but
we're sort of.
As an example of a speed bump that has been installed.
I strongly think that it should be police. I mean,
Yeah.
if I give you a ticket, you're not gonna do it again.
Well,
And the word gets out.
I was gonna say, and that's the other
The
side,
word
if
gets
they gave
out.
out a couple of tickets, I
Yeah.
think it would greatly deter
Those are stunting tickets. They are very expensive.
speeding.
And I mean, if
Not
it's young
just
guys
speeding,
that's
if they're-
doing it, you know,
If
more
they're scooching around the corner.
then they're gonna,
Well,
the word's gonna
that's
get
not our
out.
job.
And I mean,
Well, I'd sure like to see.
all they
both,
have to
so.
do is for one of them to get a ticket and they get 60 merits and you're on a probation license, they lose their license till they're 18 or whatever. I mean,
Well, and it's not only that, it's not only kids, and
No,
I'll
no.
defend that a little bit, because I go to work at 5:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. And that alley is as busy as half the streets in town. And I guarantee it's not a 16 or 17-year-old kid out at 5:30 in the
No.
morning, so.
I-
No,
I'd
it's
also-
busy.
I'd like to see both. I mean, I don't like to put our CMP in a small town in that spot where suddenly a new guy's here and he's just known to just nail all these people rolling through there. I'd like to see both
Yeah, but if they're
myself. You hit a
breaking
few
the law,
tickets
yeah.
and you throw speed bumps there. It's
So
not a
just-
massive.
I don't have any issue with it. There will be some minor cost. It won't be much. My concern, just knowing some of the, feedback we got on the other speed bump we put in, whether, if council's prepared, they may get some flack from people who think that speed bumps there are unnecessary and, but that's the nature of the game. So,
Remind
live
them
for
there's a
feedback.
school right next door. so-
Counselor Olson's phone number is.
so any thought, like, I'm just kind of
Yeah.
looking for consensus, like, we didn't. We don't have to, and I don't want to say this right, we don't have to have approval of council to do this administratively. But I know that sometimes there is controversy, so certainly wanted some
Well,
discussion around.
so we're aware and we have some accountability.
And you know why the discussion happened, why they were put in, and at the end of the day, when people who may have an issue with it are calling you, you understand, and I don't ever like to necessarily put you guys in a position where you go to reply, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were there, like, at least, now you can say we had the discussion, there's been concerns raised about speeding. There's children in there, there's lots of activity on that.
Can we
alley.
get a hold of Rob,
Yeah.
Wellswood, and have him step up enforcement on it and see if that helps, if that doesn't.
Do you want to, like, I guess, would you want a little more information from him before we purchase them, or do you want?
That's what I'm asking for, like, let's do it in stages, I'm not saying that we don't put speed bumps in, but I'm just wanting to
Okay.
know, my thing is if we can get some enforcement or logistics of enforcement, I guess for lack of a better word. If that deteriorates it, then we don't have the speed bump issue.
Yeah, I was trying to, timing isn't working. I was trying to get Rob or Sergeant Wellsman to attend our July council meeting to do his quarterly report.
Yeah.
But he sounds like he's out of town that day. He could make our info session end of July. But again, I don't want to necessarily
Stretch it.
delay things too much longer. He said that he would get me some information, he thought today on what he thought the issue was. I don't think at this point, if I understand him correctly, that they've been started any necessarily enforcement on this speed there, but they were just trying to get a baseline in terms of
What if we
how
were
many
to,
people are speeding, what speeds are they doing, and get in his mind whether that's an area of priority.
so what if we used our tools we have available to us now as far as Facebook and, or whatever other means, and just mention that there's an issue with this, where we're looking at potential deterrents, be it A, B, C.
Yeah.
Um,
You'll get some
you're gonna get some
Facebook, you'll get some Facebook feedback, definitely, and if we're okay with that, I, you'll get the positive, you get the negative with that, but. That could be a very easy step.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, I realize to get everything done takes time, but that's one that's a matter of wordsmithing and click and,
Getting some posts out and saying.
yeah.
Council's looking at reducing,
Well, we've had several complaints and we're reacting to it, blah, 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 and
one of the options could be,
Speed bump.
having.
stepped up
Our
enforcement,
stepped up enforcement could be,
speed
speed
bumps,
bumps
or
could be
could be both.
combination,
Yeah. I think that's
Okay, no, we'll start that. I will, if I get anything back from Sergeant Wellsman, when I get it back, I'll certainly forward that to you, but, and maybe between that information and our social media posts, we could chat about it at our July meeting. We'll have some feedback from residents and then we can maybe ask for official direction from council at that meeting on how to proceed, whether it's speed bumps, in addition to enforcement, so.
Well, as soon as it hits Facebook, we'll know exactly who the people are who are speeding.
a.
Well, we
What
can
they
list
ate
them off
for
pretty
lunch.
easily.
Yeah, I was gonna
The
say.
name of the
you don't need
vehicle,
to-
where they bought it
Facebook.
from.
So are we
Yeah.
comfortable?
Well,
I
and by
know
then we're
probably
halfway through summer.
Yeah,
So
Well, that's what I'm
what's the point of
saying.
doing anything at that point? I guess you get 3 weeks of speed bumps then.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, for also that to get speed, like, I mean, this will at least maybe get the ball rolling, get some all the information out and.
maybe even, yeah, it is a bit of a form of public engagement on the issue, I guess, too, as well as social media is, but. And I'll check with Brent too to see, I don't know what, again, whether there's any supply chain issues in terms of
There is for everything else.
ordering them and getting them in, and my vision, I guess, would be, we would put them down, you know, decent time in the spring after we've had a chance to grade it and level it out and put them down, and then
In the
go,
spring
and, well,
or in the
spring,
fall.
no, spring, summer, we'd take
It'd
them
be
up
nice.
in the fall.
It would be nice if you're going to do something to have it in place for, when the kids go back to school in the fall.
No, so what my plans.
These are temporary, we're gonna fix
I
them up.
realize that. I
No, well,
realize
the
that.
vision I would have would be in the spring, as soon as
You
after
would do
we've been
them-
able to grade them, we would put them down and they would stay there until October, until we thought snow would happen, then we would pull them up. So
Yeah, no,
they're temporary, but they'll be up for 6 months, a year, if we go down that road.
But if we go down that road, the action would be relatively soon. Should we go down that road?
Well, I guess we would go down that road at our July meeting after we get some more information from Sergeant Wellsman
Yeah.
on what he's witnessed. And after we've done some social media
Yeah.
and got some.
So
feedback
still.
out.
Get some
Oh,
availability,
yeah. And we'll
Yeah,
check to see what the
availability.
availability
Yeah.
of them is, so. Okay, so I just wanted to have that. Second, other thing, I've been back and forth, with Ellison Prismer. He has, Heartland has a, memento they want to present to, the town of Hanna. I'm not sure what it is. I think it has something to signify, them being off of coal on natural gas, so he'd like to present it to, so we're going back and forth on dates. Ellison is going to come to the July 12th council meeting to present this memento, but during the conversations, he's indicated whether council would be interested in a tour of the generating station. I know some of us have had tours. I know it's changed since I was out there now that they don't have coal.
Yeah.
And he said he would be pleased to lead a tour. Said 2 to 3 hour is a typical tour. And he would be looking to dates. So I don't know if A, there's interest, and B, we can nail down a date. He just is busy the last week in July. He's on vacation, so. Anybody want to throw some,
I'm interested.
Counselor Kroll, you'd be interested in tour?
I would, also, I'd donate the limo for.
Oh,
a
okay.
group tour. If
Okay.
you want.
Stop.
Fred, yeah.
This is a council
We
council
keep going
function.
backward on business.
I would love to go.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has anybody gone on vacation times? They know there's gonna be a week or two that they're.
I
not
think,
around?
Kim, it's like anything else. We pick
Pick
a
a
date
date.
and everybody that can be there is there, and the ones that can't, we send
Okay.
regrets. I mean, we're all so busy nowadays. I mean, I've got my fishing trip coming up sometime in the next 2 months. We're waiting the same thing. There are a couple guys that are struggling to get time scheduled and stuff, but.
Yeah.
But if we knew that your fishing trip was this week.
Oh,
then,
yeah,
You know.
then but
So I don't know if any counselors have definite vacation plans when they're out, and we try and stay away from
Yeah.
those. If possible.
on the note of tours, I had a meeting with GFL
Yeah.
on last week. They have offered, actually, I suggested that they offered an actual facility tour to go and see what they've done, B, see what they're going to do. I did talk to Brent as well. He would be interested in attending, so if that's something that we'd like to do. Just to see what they're doing, what they're up against. I mean, for lack of it, I mean, we've set it the road, some of us, and But I think if we actually had maybe a little better understanding of what they're doing, some of the interesting part, their new building filled full of water with their rains, so. That's why all the product is stacked outside. If you've been by, there's a very large product, amount of product stacked outside. And it's because their building is full of water, so they're working on trying to figure out what they can do to rectify that problem. It's one of those things. They are going to put some pavement down on the truck loop, because with them wetting it down and then all the rain, they've actually had trucks stuck. And so we are gonna put a lot of pavement around. The tree thing is the trees are planted on the, let me get this wrong, north side. They're putting up a wind fence that is supposed to be able to withstand 110-kilometer winds. So, yeah, but that's just some of the stuff that's coming down, so we can, if you guys are interested, not to sideswipe the Kim. but yeah.
No, let's do tours, so
Yeah.
whether you wanna take a day to do that, whether you wanna do 2 half days,
I'd prefer 2 separate days.
Okay.
Yeah.
If possible,
okay.
depending what others would like to do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because you after a long day.
And I'm looking at Counselor Olson, because I know he
It just
usually takes
takes days,
holidays. I didn't know
love
if you
these
have any
holidays.
specific weeks that you're off.
I think first week of August is it.
Okay, okay. Okay, no,
But if
I'll,
it's only 2-3 hours, I mean, we'll be close to the plant at that point.
oh.
Oh,
It might be it might not be as long a distance for you to
Yeah,
travel as the rest
yeah,
of us.
it's, Fred,
You
that
can pick 'em up
worked
on the
just
way
fine.
by.
Yeah, that worked just fine.
Okay, okay. The last thing I wanted to touch base on, in my report was just grant update, so. Good news, bad news. The good news is smaller than the bad news. But we did, I think if you remember, we applied for money for our music in the park, through their Commemorate Canada Reopening Fund, celebrating their reopening from COVID. We just heard that we've been approved for $70,000, so I know council allocated $10,000 in the 22 budget to music in the park. So we facilitated under that process, so we'll definitely get that covered. And then the question will be, how much more do we want to go? Where do we want to go with it? We're gonna meet next week and decide some options. We've got all of our entertainers booked and lined up. One of the things we talked about was having, and one of the potentials might be having a large event with a fairly well-known entertainer and food for anybody who comes out and a bit of a celebration. So that's still an option as well. We're also looking to see whether some of these dollars could be used up next year in the music in the park as well. So it's good news we got the money. Now we're just figuring out the best way to spend it. But the community center renovation project has been denied. So we're able to resubmit. So we're looking to see the areas that were weak, and basically it looked like it was the building and energy information. I know that, we hadn't put a ton of upgrades into the building in terms of the green side, like we weren't changing it to solar, we weren't, doing a ton of new HVAC stuff. We were gonna change some lights and do some minor energy conservations. It was more on the inclusivity side in terms of making it handicapped accessible and improving all of that stuff. So we'll go back to the drawing board on that and see if we can get some different traction and better traction on it. So just wanted to, as the mayor kind of updated, I put the meeting notes that from the mayor's meeting with GFL in the package in terms of what they're doing, what they are planning to do, what they're doing. As you can see, the demand for their product has increased. Have ready material sitting there, and they're bringing another screener, hiring more staff. So pros and cons there. They're hiring more staff. the cons, from what I can see, obviously you're doing more work out there, so it has the ability to cause more issues, so. But I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you want to speak to any more. I couldn't attend that meeting,
Yeah.
so.
Basically, we kind of covered off what they've done and in fairness to this group that we're dealing with now versus the group in the past. If they say they're gonna do something or tell us they're going to do something, they have done it. So I have I have confidence. And again, we've covered this 100 times, we'll cover it 100 more. The unfortunate part of it is the agreement with no dust and no odor it's just not attainable, and they've acknowledged it. They are working to make it minimal, but I think that's just a necessity that we're gonna have, or necessity, that's what I want to use. A reality we're gonna have to live with, so. And Todd is the new.
Operations manager?
Yeah, I believe so. Anyway, he seems to be very responsive. They changed a few things that they're doing and how they're doing them. Todd is the operations manager. But yeah, they changed a few things the way they're doing them, and they're doing a bunch more. Where my company is working with them, we're working on setting up a misting system on the conveyor, so when the material's coming off the conveyor, it'll actually be wet down to help minimize the amount of dust, not eliminate it. So we're in the preliminary stages of that, so.
So did they talk much, Mr. Mayor, about, I see they've got it on site, they're bagging their product
Their
now?
bagging process has been a couple of failed experiments.
Okay,
Originally, they thought they're gonna be able to do it similar to the grain bagging, and they actually went out and bought a grain bagger, and the problem is it didn't work.
okay,
So they're trying a couple of other things. They did mention totes, because I know with the humolite at the mine, they're actually making totes of material. So that was one of the things I mentioned to Todd and Vicky, is what they're doing at the mine, not that it's the be all end all, but to make totes with their product. So yeah, there's lots of different ideas, so.
yeah, I've seen the bagging operation out there, I just wondered how it was going.
Yeah,
so,
not well.
okay. And the other thing here, I just wanted to bring attention to everybody, Canada Day activities in town. So that's the list of things that are happening, primarily, flag raising at RCMP Park at 12:30, barbecues at 1 at the community center. We have entertainment, Suit Jacket Society playing live music off the community center patio. Hector King Hunter Park will be full of bounce houses and different things for the kids. Free public swimming, 1 to 9, and kids bike parade out at Fox Lake Park, and fireworks, just so everybody's on the same page, 11:30 on July 1st. So we've flip-flopped back and forth, just depending on how
The week
it
worked.
felt, but with it being on a Friday, most people having Saturday off, we've got fireworks on July 1st at 11:30 versus running them June 30th at the night, where people have to be at work the next day. So the ones when Canada Day fall into a long weekend are always interesting, because you don't know whether that's going to bring more people or you're going to lose people because it's a long weekend and they're able to take off. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the activities that are happening on the 1st. The golf tournament runs their tournament separate of us. We just promote that it's happening, and it's a good event as well. So
So who's manning the barbecue?
the firemen.
Oh,
The firemen, we give them an honorary and we provide the food, and they provide the labor to cook. It's always a risky proposition if there's a major fire call that will be grabbing volunteers to hop in there and cook, but knock on wood, we've been able to pull it off. So
So if counselors are available, would they be able to participate or volunteer? somewhere?
Yeah, no, I think, well, obviously, I know the mayor's speaking at the flag raising. But yeah, I think if people were around, they could come back and help people. I don't know necessarily cooking wise, but you could help people where here's a hamburger, here's, yeah, certainly any help like that is
Or especially if there happens to be a fire.
yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. So unless there's any questions, Mr. Mayor, that's where we're at, so.
We did run over to Delia. And not sure what they really wanted or.
We didn't get a ton accomplished.
No,
I don't know if they're 100% sure what they want, how they want to do it. But we basically, my interpretation, Mr. Mayor, is the ball's back in their court. We basically have indicated to the village of Delia, we're open to discussion, to see if there's a fit that will work for both parties. But the ball is back in their court to basically nail down exactly what assistance they may need and, for how long. At the end of the day, it's always a challenge in those smaller villages. And if they can find, my recommendation to them was if they could find someone local, maybe don't have any municipal experience, but someone who would be able to learn. That's your best method, and maybe our role might be to work with that person and mentor them and help them and let them grow and learn and be able to fully operate and move forward. They do have a public works person starting, I think, on Monday.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of their concerns off the table, and but I think they're frustrated. They haven't been able to have their office open and even have a presence, much of a presence in the community. So yeah, so the ball's back in their court is how I understand it. So
well, I've got some ideas I actually thought through and we'll talk after. the
Okay.
meeting, So,
okay,
Do you have a council? I'm sorry.
oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they have a
Yeah.
council, they have an acting
temporary
acting helper
CEO,
owner,
yeah,
a former CEO that's actually helping them out.
From the
They've got a
town
bunch
of
of stuff
Impeller.
that hasn't been done for a couple of years that they're trying to get caught up on, which I'm kind of surprised that you could let it go
Yeah.
that long, but
Yeah.
it has, so. No, they've reached out, they're aware they have some problems and I've got, yeah, there's some things to be done, so. But right now, we didn't commit to absolutely anything other than come back to us when you have a better plan and what we could help you help yourself with, so.
and then we can evaluate what they think they need and see if there's something there we can help them out with. If we can't, we can't. If we can, we'll, see if that works for them too, so.
So do we need a motion for your report?
No.
No, okay,
Any other questions? I know the only other thing that I did want to mention is, and we talked about the last council meeting, we do have some work to do on the lot across from Councilor Olson's, cleaning it up with this rain and stuff. It's taken off, and so we need to get focus on that vacant lot that we took over. So we will be doing that shortly here. The guys were been tied up cutting grass around town, and we had a couple of sewer issues we were working through earlier this week, so. But it is on our list to get to, and I know it's past the point where it should be. The other thing, just so you're aware, unsightly properties, so it's going a little slower than I had hoped. But I did talk with Tracy Raypole, the special areas peace officer that's doing majority of the legwork. She has been out, last week was out, and I like what she's doing. It's just a little more time consuming. So if she has an unsightly property, she's identified, has a notice, but she's going to the door, knocking on the door, and hopefully someone answers and they can, she can have a conversation with them as to why and how versus just leaving. I think most people who get one, for the most part, understand why and realize why. But we do have about eight or 10 properties in town right now that are in really bad shape, so. Those are mostly vacant properties, so they're a little more time consuming because we have to mail the notice to them, and we have to allow time for the notice to get there and time for them to fix it. So we've got a few of them underway, and we're hoping to get the rest of them out this week. So there's probably 8 or 10 that haven't been touched yet this year. So they're in really bad shape, so.
So with the one that was on Facebook that kind of got out of control a little bit. And basically, there was a bunch of people jumped on the bandwagon, so I suggested that people use our online form to get something accomplished rather than Facebook. And mysteriously, that post disappeared immediately after I put that post up. So do we follow up with the people that have submitted an online request to say, we've received your request, are your concern with this is what we're doing?
It depends on the concern, Mr. Mayor. So if it's just a generally an unsightly, we don't follow back up with them to say that we've been in contact with them. I guess we go on the premise that if they put in a complaint and nothing's happened for a couple of weeks or whatever, they want to phone and find out. But I'll use an example: the speed bumps. I had a email through that process there, so I did respond to that individual to say we are aware of the issue and we are going to be bringing it to this meeting to have some discussion with council on how we want to move forward. So it kind of depends on the issue. If it's an unsightly, generally we don't respond and even say thank you. We're passed it on to peace officers. I guess it's something we could take that step, but so we're working through that. It's like I said, it's going a little slower than I had hoped. And they also have dealt with a couple of dog issues. So they have been doing some stuff in the back, some work with some trailers, on one particular property. So just kind of plucking away at it. So I think the tough time as we move through this is that our busy time for bylaw enforcement is this time, and I think it's also a busy time for special areas as well. So only certain
As well as
resources-
holidays and so on.
Well, right, then you throw in vacation. So we're working through that. Encourage anybody who has if it's an unsightly, etc., to either our bylaw complaint form is on our website, or they can use the report of concern. I know our bylaw guys like the bylaw form better because it's got more information on it, but we work with either one. So, but we are working through that. It's just going a little slower than we had anticipated.
Well, and we had no moisture, so nothing was growing, and then we got
Yeah,
7 inches of rain and everything grew.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So that threw a little bit of a wrench in, but I'm glad we got the rain. So,
Yeah.
except for the mosquitoes.
Yeah, they're all-
So if there's any other questions, do my best to answer them, but
Councilor Kroll?
Well, past week I've been out at the cemetery. I'm just wondering, is there a cemetery committee or somebody that looks after that place?
we don't have a committee per se. The town looks after it. So our parks crew do the grass, weed eating, that type, and our public works guys deal with the plots. And if somebody contacts us that wants if their plots got really bad on top, and they want the cement all the way, we will do that upon request. We don't go in unless we are requested. So cemeteries, it's a significant space. And so it does take our crew a few days out there with 3 or 4 or 5 people. The biggest challenge is in the older parts with the weed eating, because like anything else, that grows up against the headstones and stuff because the moisture comes down. The newer part isn't as bad because we tried to set it up so that we can just zip along with our mowers. But from time to time, like I was out there the other day, Fred, or Council Crowe, and I didn't think it was too bad. It's getting to the point as things grow that it will need to be out there again soon, but there are points in time where it's not perfect and immaculate, but that's the same with all of our grass. When it hits, we have to move through and mow it all, but yeah, no, we don't have a committee per se, Councilor Kroll, but I'm certainly open if anybody has any suggestions or improvement or things. I get some individuals who come and ask me about different things, like that's how we got the water tank out there and different things as we move along, so,
The snow plowing.
yeah,
So there's no such thing as a cemetery committee then, as you say,
no.
but there used to be, wasn't
I'm gonna look to Winona how many years ago that was.
It was basically just Rhonda and I and a couple people off the funeral home. And then we just went, we're doing work anyways, so we dissolved that.
If there's interest in starting one, we're certainly would be open to it,
Yeah,
so.
I know in Illinois, the same scenario where the town took care of the cemetery, and as you indicated, Fred, we had a committee, and basically it was the two churches that used the cemetery, and they called for a work bee, and somebody would make sandwiches, and we'd go and do whatever needed to be done, sort of thing. With every cemetery that I had, this is no different. I actually drove through it for the first time last night. There's trees, there's monuments, and you know, at the time, they're a great idea, and as they mature, they become unsightly. That's yeah. So yeah, no, if you wanted, Councilor Kroll, if you're looking for somebody to start or help, yeah, I'm game. So, and I think Toyota would probably help us with that.
Was there something in particular,
it?
Counselor, was there something in particular that had you concerned about the cemetery?
Well, it's overrun with gophers, one,
Oh,
like it's terrible. I mean, there's holes in every grave site, you know, and that's not. And there's a bunch of deadfall that's in those trees. I mean, they could be cut up, you know, who's taken out the Fox Lake or whatever, you know. Like I would personally do that myself if I could get permission, you know, sort of thing, like I don't want to go out there and just do it, because then I got somebody, you know.
Yeah.
complaining.
Councilor Kroll did this.
right.
You know, and same as the community services, like, if we get like somebody that don't pay a fine or something, they usually send them out to the dump. We could send them out there and they could do some work out there, you know. I mean, I know it's not supervised, but I would volunteer my time to head that up, you know.
Yeah, we haven't, we don't get approached much, Councilor Kroll, for community services hours. I can't remember the last time, like, they have to come to us and do that, and no one has been directed our way for quite some time. But generally we do, we would take those people anytime. We would take them in the winter months, they would help out at the arena. We could summer's a perfect time. We've got a crew out there already. Bring them in as a member, you know, and treat them like a member of the crew. And but it's been very quiet on that side in terms of hours. I don't know if it's something they don't do much of anymore. I know we used to, speaking of that, I know we used to have a youth justice committee in town, and I haven't heard of them operating for the last number of years.
I know Joe Schnurr.
Joe, yeah,
Yeah, he's one of the,
and they did have. It's been a few years, they used the town office for a few. Did their way through the judicial system. But I don't know, Joey hasn't talked to me about it for a few years, so I don't know if it's active or not, so. And a reminder, we'll see you this evening. Staff barbecue.
Oh, yes, yes. I have it on
Yeah, 5:30.
Okay, LED sign,
Provincial police.
oh, sorry, yep.
So I'm gonna throw that out to you guys. I am not an expert in the provincial police force discussion. I know a number of you had the opportunity to hear the presentations from both the province and both the National Police Federation on their positions. I know, I believe they had some stuff at the mayor's caucus, and different things that some of you had been privy to. And the only other thing I know about it is that both RMA and AUMA have taken a position against the provincial police force. We haven't, the Police Federation, and it's one of the packages in here, have a call to action. They've got 72 municipalities who have joined their call to action to stay with our CMP. We as a council haven't brought that decision up or discussion up per se, something that's there, and they'd be, if council wanted to go that direction, I know the National Police Federation will jump all over it. I'd be happy to have another municipality join them. I know this is probably good discussion time. The mayor has a meeting tomorrow with Minister Shandro, who is the Justice Minister, and our MLA Horner, a virtual meeting with, I think, the town of Stettler and us. So I think their message is they're calling it community engagement, public engagement. I think my gut tells me, I could be wrong, that, find out from the mayor that they might be pushing the provincial police force and trying to lobby
No.
the provincial police force. That's what my gut tells me, but the mayor will be able to fill me in after that. But so if there's any points, I think the mayor would love to hear your thoughts before he's engaged in that meeting tomorrow. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
The scary thing for me is it's $185 million to operate it right now, Alberta RCMP. The feds pay 30%. I'm sure the province and their record of efficiency would trim it. Sarcasm, of course, and I just don't know that 30%. We all know who that's going to come from, and we've got to cover. It's going to cost a lot. And I personally, I don't have an issue with the coverage RCMP is going to be. I don't know how the Alberta Police Force would be better.
Well, and some of the challenges at the mayor's caucus that we had were there are already. Councilor Bowe, you were there, $1.7 million, sorry, not sorry, $1 billion over budget. They haven't even started yet.
Yeah.
Like it's, 1.367 over budget, and they haven't even started yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, it was a munis thing, so I mean, they were very vocal in that point, but numbers.
Well, yeah, and the munis, especially those under 5,000, are very sensitive now on police costs, because now that they've been billing us for policing, and that's planning to increase, where we didn't have anything before. And now we're gonna be, from the town of Hanna's perspective, within a period of, well, we're at 72 this year. It goes to 96 in 23, and then 148, 150 in 24. So we're basically in a 5-year period that have been faced with $150,000 cost for policing that was never there. So I know there's lots of sensitivity around that, and then you throw in, as Councillor Olson said, well, you're going to lose the 30% subsidy. So what's that going to mean? But I think from the provincial side, it'll be interesting to hear the mayor's discussion. They're more about, I think it's more about control, because, under the provincial police they feel they'll have more control of the police than having a contract with the feds. I struggle with it just because of the Canadiana of the whole thing, and I know we shouldn't, that, you know, we've grown up with RCMP and they're an icon, and you're proud of the RCMP around the world, and you know, to see that not here is more historical or sentimental than service provision, but I don't know, you know, it's one of those, you hear information on both sides and you gotta go with your gut, I guess.
Well, and at the mayor's caucus, I actually made it a point to hook up with Macomb, who is bigger than Hanna, but it's still rural for lack of a better-
No,
Yeah, ish.
Ish.
And some of the challenges they have had and are having is.
over the only cost of this, as you indicated. They're already over budget. Well, even BC, I don't recall which name of the.
Sorry.
Yes, they were doing, they were going to provincial, and they were far over their budget, and they were just starting. So I really have no confidence in the money end of it, and nor the confidence in our government to be able to do that, instead of putting money into something that can be repaired. Our coal industry should be one of them. You know, a good example, like, you know, instead of ruining a whole industry or a whole sector, make it better. Put the money into making it better and identifying that.
Yeah,
And our RCMP, they go to the provincial government to find out what their interests are, to focus on and all that. So there is somewhat, and it concerns me that the province wants that much more control. You know, I just really have no confidence in changing and starting all brand new under a provincial police force. Fix what we already have.
Councilor Cole, what do you think?
Well, the big thing is what's the provincial guidelines gonna be? Are they gonna follow the Charter of Rights? Are they gonna follow, like, you know, like, are they gonna follow the same oaths, I guess, you know?
My understanding, Councilor Crowell, I don't know this for a fact, my understanding would be that the criminal code is the criminal code, and they would have to enact the criminal code, whether they're provincial police or RCMP. That criminal code is what it is, and that would be their guidebook or their regulations in terms of how they would move forward. So if they're gonna write a ticket under a criminal code, it would be the same ticket that the RCMP would be writing for the same offense. So I don't see any changes in that regard.
There seems to be a lot of concern more so about letting members stay in their community versus you know, traveling to different, you know, being transferred to different areas. Like, I think they have a choice to do that. And there's a lot of training that can be done going to other areas. That is a benefit than staying in one general location and not experiencing that training. I think there's just so many more positives staying with what we have and improving it than starting brand new and being completely.
With the structure of the RCMP that's in place, for example, smaller communities, small rural communities have a source of policing. For example, the Kamada Depot and their first post is Elk Point. It's 2
Hanna.
hills.
It's Hanna.
Hanna. And if you take that away where they're basically, for lack of a better term, sentenced to go to work or told that's where you're gonna work. How are we going to be able to recruit suitable people? I mean, we're going through this now with well, our doctors were fairly fortunate, thanks to the group we have in place, but our nurses are in the exact same boat right now. So I think, you know, and that's where my concern is being able to recruit people into our community to do the policing. You know, it's a cool job, but who wants to really do it? I mean, it's like bio enforcement, and it's funny, we get phone calls. Well, I had a phone call from the lady that was upset about the unsighted property notification, so I went over and I visited her with her, and I said, well, look at your law and look at my law. Well, your law is Medicare, so I'm not arguing that, but why do I have to live next to you and your law is this? And she's, well, fair enough, and she was good with it, they got it cut and everything, but it's, I don't know, I just, to me, that's my fear of the provincial thing, is all of a sudden we don't have the tools to get members here, get people to come and work here. So, and how is it going to work? Mutual aid stuff and all that, those are some of the questions that I have, so.
I think Councilor Murphy has a
No,
question.
sorry.
Comment.
So I spent 15 years working for the federal public service, and one of my client bases was the RCMP. So I'm a very close relationship with them. I have tremendous respect for what they do. The concept that half of them would walk away from their federal public service pension to become a provincial employee at a lower salary rate is asinine. I would never have done it. Because it's incredible benefits you get as a federal public servant that you don't get in a provincial. It's just not the same. So I'm concerned about the real estate. Half of it's owned by the government of Canada. They're not going to just give it to the province. So the province wouldn't even just go, we're just renting. You don't own all that real estate. So you've got to now buy real estate to put all of these police forces in, because they're not owned by you in the first place. So I think the whole system is going to bankrupt the province.
And I don't think they've included a lot of the property in their
Oh, no,
quote as
they-
far as what it's gonna cost
Yeah,
everybody. So there's
I-
so much stuff that they have not included
They have
in
not
their
included.
costs.
And
That-
part of their
yeah.
meetings did not include it. I asked at both sides of it, I asked the same question. What are you doing about real estate? Oh, don't worry, it's all good. It's like, no, I need to know, because if you have to buy $1 million building in every town, where's that money coming from?
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear the pitch tomorrow. And I don't have, again, I realize I probably shouldn't go with a preconceived notion, but I have a preconceived notion of what it is, and I don't think we're too far wrong with it, but I'll listen and then I'll bring you back a report as to what their push is going to be. They're using it as a consultation. I think it's more of an information as to what the long-term goals are and what they perceive. So,
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
So what stance are you gonna take with that?
there is no stance to be taken right now.
But if they were to ask
If
you,
they're to ask me, I'm staying with RCP.
And I think that would
I
be a
think that's
fair,
a
I think that'd be a
consensus.
fair comment. based
After
on the
listening to everyone in
Yeah.
this room, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I can represent you and say,
Consensus
The
of
consensus of our
my
council
council is that
is-
they would
Yeah.
rather stay with the RCP or supportive of staying with the RCP.
thank you.
so. Yeah, I don't have, I don't have much confidence in this,
Yeah, I do.
I don't know what to call it, mission. So-
Initiative.
I think they're just wasting our money.
It's a weird initiative.
Well, of all the things that, the battles to be fought, I don't
This
feel
is
that this
not
is
one.
one that needs to be forefront. So motion, back up there. Motion to accept the provincial police force report for information. Council Kroll, sorry, Council Murphy. All in favor? Carried. LED sign, message center.
Oh, signage project.
No, we did this.
We did that
Okay,
already.
thank you. Sorry.
So the LED message center sign, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to have the discussion and kind of get some thoughts from council. There's no motion required, so it's not any decision to be made here, but you're aware that in 2008, it was purchased and installed at a cost of $130,000. Contribution from $40,000 from special areas towards that project in 2008. The town did have extended warranty for a few years after the initial warranty. But that ran out after 10 years. They would not provide any extended warranty. And we've been, knock on wood, been fortunate since 2018 that we haven't had any major issues up until this spring. So we had this discussion before. The sign began to fail, and we've basically taken it to a dark state. As far as we're concerned, there are options for the message center panels. One, you could remove the two panels, and Lori and I had this discussion yesterday, so just so I'm clear on what a panel is. So panel is, to me, is one side of the electronic sign.
The messaging
The
piece.
messaging course, that's the electronic. So we could take that whole electronic piece out and leave it empty, or put something else to fill up that space if council wished. There are 4 modules and 2 power supplies that are actually not functioning or weren't functioning at that time. And we did get a price to fix them. That quote is expired, but it was $71.85 to replace the 4 modules and 2 power supplies. Concern that was raised from council at that point in time, that you spend the $7,200 and the next day another section of it could go out because they're all the same age, same style. Lori's been talking with one of the suppliers, and I've given her a couple of quotes. One, to replace the entire electronic panels new, and with the similar technology that's there, is $68,700. Or they are suggesting we could replace that same electronic panels with upgraded technology at $94,000. So I don't know the difference in the technology, whether Lori can speak to that, but so if council wishes to move forward in any one of those directions, we've kind of wanted some discussion to see what your thoughts were around that. There might be more options than that. Those are the 4 that we brought forward. Nope, everybody was.
Well,
Go ahead, Council.
I guess, in my opinion, there's also a 5th one
Okay.
that says remove it, the whole thing.
Okay, well, one is, the one is
Maybe it's
basic,
an option to get it out.
one is similar to that in the fact that it still would leave the Hanna signage there,
So would you
but
put lighting behind it and all this other stuff? I just think it's, in my opinion, has been a waste of money from the get-go, but that's just my personal opinion. And so I'd like to, I guess, tearing it down or taking it down would also be an expense. And yeah, probably one would be the best, where you could just put something, say, have a good day, or thank you for coming to Hanna, or something, and just leave it at that. I don't want to put any more money into it.
Others? Let's roll.
Well, I would think like the $68,000 is almost a waste. I mean, all you're doing is replacing it with the same technology. You're having problems with what you've got, so why would you want to just replace it with something that's?
well, it would be the same technology, but it would be new and would probably buy you another 10 years. I don't know the difference in technology, probably whether it's sharper or,
It'd be better LED. Look to
They're-
it.
Yeah, they're both LED, so it would be more, if you look at the sign that Prairie Land has, it's more, it's sharper and there's more pixels per inch per se, if that, your resolution would be better. So your graphics would be,
clear. So, yeah, I don't doubt the 68, if we got the 68 Council Crow, that we would get, the 10 years out of it. It would be the same technology, but it would be new starting there. So it wouldn't be the fact that it's gonna crap out right away, so.
At the top of it, is there like the old Hanna logo? I'm trying to.
Yes.
picture.
yeah, it's the
Okay.
Hanna worth the drive and it is backlit, but I know the backlighting hasn't been working for a number of years. It's
Okay.
quite attractive when it does work. I believe it's just the bulbs inside. I just haven't pushed Public Works hard enough to take it apart and see what's going on in there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I want to tear the whole thing down. I don't deem it an eyesore, but even if it's just an acrylic solution, so the top is the logo and then over where that panel sits, a Live the Lifestyle, just a physical acrylic sign or something.
Something to bring in the brand.
Then it has something. Then I think it should be a budget decision for next year. It's significant enough, and if we're gonna spend a bunch of money on signage already, it would be a struggle.
I haven't priced out replacing panels. My thought was that if the replacement logo panel, because there's two of them, my thought was that if the bottom of the signage pieces were removed, that the possibility of having two larger panels built so it looked more cohesive, not in two pieces, if we have to replace those anyways to keep up with the branding, could be a possibility. I haven't priced them out.
And some
They
of
may
those,
come in at very little difference than your 68,000.
some of those, I guess my vision would be that the panel that's up above with the logo, and whether we had a different panel in below, we might be able to, if WED's good, we might be able to slip that in, like it's a facility sign type thing. We might be able to get that there. I don't think they would be interested in the electronic component sign, but they might be able to, if they are willing to accept some of the others, we might be able to get some of the dollars to cover that. But that's yet to be determined, so.
I see a Chalmers.
Well, and just, it's a great sign, but the location is awful, because I rarely leave Hanna. So in order to go see what's going on, I'd literally have to go past Timmy's to no man's land just to see the sign. So the location, you're right beside Timmy's. You're part of it. Now I come and visit you.
Yeah, but I think he was questioning the no man's land.
Sorry.
I feel that way some days, trust
No,
me.
no. Sorry. It's just the location, but besides
And see,
that,
for me, where I'm at, the location
you just
makes
look out the
sense.
door and you can read.
Well,
what's going on.
as I drive by, it's there every morning.
It
And
was never intended initially for residents.
Yeah.
It's for people driving.
it's on the highway and it's actually, surprisingly, I've had lots of comments as to what are you doing with it? Like,
Yeah,
why haven't, and when it was running, then there was a comment, well, we don't do it fast, it changes too fast, or but yeah, I don't know, myself personally, I don't think we remove it. I think the LED portion of it, I'm with you, Councilor Kroll, if we're going to spend 68, I realize this is
Make it
funny,
94.
something coming out of my mouth, but make it 94. I was thrifty as anybody, but to me, the 68 versus 94, I mean, do it right, and with technology, and I'm gonna defend, it's 10 years old, it's not 10 years old anymore, it's 14 years old now, but we got a fairly good lifespan out of it, so I mean, if you can get 10 years or 12 years out of the new version, then that's reality of it. I mean, it's like when we buy a vehicle, we know in 5 years or 8 years, they're gonna have to replace it, so I don't think we can fool ourselves with anything we do, that it's forever.
So I guess my question then for council is,
For this,
how quickly do we want to move forward with anything? Do we want to move forward with bringing something back for a decision like on the cost this year, or do we buy the fact that it's going to remain dark for the 22 year and bring it, any decision as on cost to the 23 budget process?
Do we have a ballpark cost of what it would have to put something there for this year?
No, we don't have a
Okay.
ballpark cost at this point.
And then put it in the budget for next year and
What do you mean, put something there?
Well, if we took the existing LED
or just
panels
cover the
out, or
panels
covered them
over.
up with something, whether it's have a good day or
Yeah,
What's
thanks,
the
thanks, well,
lifestyle?
thanks for
Live the
stopping,
lifestyle.
live the lifestyle,
You could put a banner across.
Yeah, I think that would be adequate.
and that's what I'm
Hang
saying.
it up right
Yeah.
now.
There is one little light at the very bottom corner that I get to watch every day, so.
Yeah,
Is there a little, there's one little bulb?
Yep.
that's the sensor for the weather.
Oh,
And we just haven't cut the power to it yet, which we could do, I guess.
Well, if you're gonna get the top lid, the portion fixed, then we will cut. Council Crowe, sorry.
I think we should definitely do something with the top panel that says worth the drive. Like have it changed to the new logo. Have the lights working in that part of it. And then the bottom, like Sandra said, we can stretch a banner over, or you can put a piece of coroplast or anything on there, you know, something.
Okay. So I think, yeah,
okay,
I like that idea,
That
Councilwoman, you're obviously, you don't like the
Well,
sign.
we're doing all the signage, so having, signages in the entranceway, right down Palliser Trail and everything, to me seems like overkill. And if you're gonna do, well, really, it's taxpayers' money for crying out loud, and, to me, the least you can put towards it, the better. And as far as I'm concerned, that fill the black in with a banner that says, live the lifestyle and be done with it.
As a banner is a permanent solution?
no,
Just a
I think my
temporary.
understanding would be the banner would be a temporary measure for this year, and then future decision for 23 and beyond.
For future councils.
Yeah.
I would.
Well,
be-
not quite a future council, but for 23, at least, like 22, if we put a banner over it or something temporary over the electronics, and we don't fix the electronics. And then we have this discussion at budget time and get direction from council for 23. If council says, no, we want it out and we want a different thing in there versus an electronic piece, then that's a decision of council. If they want an electronic piece, we bring that price and they make the decision as part of the budget process. It's always easier to do it as part of the budget process because you see the big picture, you can see everything, and you can make that adjustment. But if there was consensus from council that no, they wanted it up and they wanted it fixed and they wanted it going as soon as possible, then we, need
it's
to have that
doable.
direction. It's doable. Maybe you're pulling money out of surplus to do it. But if it's not as important to council that they're willing to defer it to 23, then that's the direction we can go, and we can get some things that take care of the bottom part. So, and hopefully the top part could be taken care of if we get money through WED. So
So can we get a consensus to do a banner
Or coroplast.
or
whatever.
banner corpus,
Fit in there.
something? Well, let's
That
try and
looks
come up with
decent.
something.
okay, yeah, I'll leave that in Lori's hands to come up with something that we could look to
We
fill
don't
in,
need to motion or
fill in the
anything.
electronic
Yeah,
side.
let's do something with that.
So
Cause
I
it does
just,
look silly right now.
I just want to express, and I want to make sure I'm being clear. So this is in two separate pieces. So this is one piece.
Yeah, we're covering over that piece right there, the yellow
Yeah.
piece.
I understand that. If council should decide that they do not want to have a message center there in the long run, why wouldn't we replace this with one piece?
And that could be an option in
But it-
23.
But the way that you're talking, it's not, because if you go ahead with the quote that has come in, or it will be coming in on the signage project, that's just for this little
Yeah.
piece. So I hate to go ahead and do this little piece, not knowing what we're gonna do here. It's like throwing money after that, unless you want it to look pieced. Making
Yeah,
any
but
sense?
the solution, if they cover the top with their funding, if we can get, grant money to cover that, we'd still be able to match it come budget time. If we do, again, just another static sign underneath or something.
You're still
would
talking
think.
two separate.
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There's a change of scope. If they're gonna give us money, I really struggle to change the scope and having to reconsider anything. if
I
they
know,
start
and
to
that's where
avoid
I'm going, is I
Yeah.
don't like the idea of two pieces there. I think it doesn't look as cohesive, but that's just a personal opinion. So that's, I just thought, because that's how I think everybody should think that. If you're okay with two
And
pieces.
see, to me, I like the two pieces because it's
Right.
not big and
It's
bold.
subject-
Well, and there's so many potential options with the two-piece. Because you could, depending on costs and depending on what it is, you could get different signs. If we had some large major things that people wanted to.
Well, that's what I
put
was
out there,
thinking,
you
like the
could
pro
use that
rodeo.
Bottom,
Yeah.
like, welcome to the Hanna Pro Rodeo, or, welcome to the Cruisers Car Show, or something you could fill in the
Like
bottom.
a banner, for example, sort of,
Yeah.
like when you mentioned that, so. We could, you could say to the cruisers, listen, you guys got your drags up on this day, would you be interested in putting a banner on there?
Yeah.
And the show and shine that we're doing later on in the
Yeah.
summer, would you be interested in hanging a
Yeah.
banner on it, with the pro rodeo be interested? And if
And
we,
that's why we went electronic.
Yeah.
That's what-
Yeah.
well, then you
we're
could
gonna
do
reach.
it, exactly, but for right now, with the electronic being out. We can offer to them that, hey, if you want, we can. Accommodate. Your.
Yeah, right.
perceived needs.
Okay,
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Yes, that's it, Dave.
just, I know we've got council roundtable. There's one thing I just want to say. I don't know if any council members have been questioned about cat bylaw recently. We are going to, we have a bit of a challenge right now on the 300 block of 7th Avenue West. So I've got two residents on the north side of that block who are extremely frustrated with a new neighbor that moved in on the south side of the block that in their opinion has 8 to 10 cats. And they're in their yard and they're making a mess and they're absolutely frustrated and tired. I talked to the one resident couple of times and I encouraged him to reach out to council. I said, that's a council direction on whether they want to go down the road of a cat bylaw. And in terms of what that could look like, I said, unfortunately, right now, there's nothing I can do or we can do about the fact that they have 8 or 10 cats and they free roam and do whatever, free range. There's nothing we can do in the bylaw. So I know that was very frustrating to this individual because he sees people have to license their dogs, they have to have their dog on a leash, they have to clean up after their dog. But in his mind, cats can do whatever they want. So I know it's been a long going controversy. It raises its head at times in the community, goes back down. And there's certainly differences of opinions on both sides of the issue. So I know I did receive a letter yesterday that I will put in the council package from one of the two residents. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to your, and I know I'm using that area as an example, and I know it comes and goes
Stevens Crest
from
is the
time to
same.
time. There's cats and people get frustrated with it. But I know this two, I've said, all you can do, I've encouraged them. I said, you can come to council, you can speak to council and tell them your thoughts and your ideas. But I know it's probably not gonna go away quickly, so I just wanted to let you know that you can put your minds thinking about cats here, because I think there's gonna be some questions asked about cats and cat bylaws. And
It was actually interesting, the grade 6 class was here, they asked what kind of a bylaw we might look at, and I mentioned cats, well, that's a bunch of 11 and 12-year-old kids. And they're as controversial about a cat bylaw as anyone, it was awesome, like some of them, what do you mean you don't have a cat bylaw, you should have a cat bylaw, and they're other, well, they're just pets, and
you can't leash a cat.
you can't leash a cat, yeah.
More people walking their cats
Yeah.
down than ever.
So just wanted to bring that up as something that's gonna be on our radar here and just kind of give you a heads up, because I've encouraged them that if they want to speak to council, that their emails on our website, they can make arrangements to speak with them, have a dialogue with each council member, they can come to council, so I'm actually surprised that this one individual hasn't taken you guys up on that yet, so,
There is no rule on how many cats one
No.
individual.
no.
There's-
And you can be, again, the cat bylaw can be as minimally invasive or maximum invasive as you want to go. If council wanted to set a limit on number of cats, that's probably an option. Again, it's how you know
Whose cat is
whose
whose?
cat is whose and what they have, unless you require them to be licensed, and then whether everybody licensed them. So there is some challenges there, but there is nothing in the bylaw. You know, I think if you got to the point and you hear sometimes of some places where they have horrible situations where there's hundreds of cats in a house, then you can bring in the SPCA and bring in some of those resources. I don't, even 8 and 10 to me seems like
We might
extreme
have
overkill.
2 of those in town, Mr. Neal,
Okay,
because a conversation with a delivery driver who brings a pallet of kitty litter to one house every month. Do the math. This is not an SPCA person. And I looked in the truck and said, oh, I guess you have an SPCA delivery. And he said, no, that's Marlene or Barbara. I don't know the name. Every month.
do.
That's a lot of cat litter for one house.
yeah,
So-
The garbage.
I'm not aware, no one's brought it to our attention, my attention in terms of, other than this one house I spoke about that's
Oh,
just
7
moved in
cats.
and has 8 or 10, so.
That's
And
incredible.
to me, that's a crazy number to have, but,
Well, if you're seeing 9 or 10, you have to understand there's probably 80 in the house. Those are the ones that are getting out. That might be cat litter lady, I don't know. Wow. No way.
okay, so that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, I guess council, if they have any questions or things they want to bring up.
Speaking of things that pop up and go away and pop up and go, we were briefly talked about urban hens. I do apologize to Council Campion in his absence. But we looked at it a little bit and it just kind of disappeared. or
Well,
what-
we kind of were hoping, my interpretation of, we were going to see how the school
Big pound down.
experiment went
Bird
and
flu.
gather some feedback and some ideas around that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they postponed
Yeah.
that to the fall. So
Okay.
administratively, we haven't done anything.
Yeah, and that's
since
fine.
then,
I just,
so.
it was one of those, that, like you said,
Yeah.
pop up and
Yeah.
disappear.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, just as long as it's. yeah.
Hopefully they can get their initiative underway this fall and we can get some feedback.
Do they
on
have
how
to
that
come
works.
back to us again or can we?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay. Speaking of the school, I was at the 4-H sale. They bought a beef for their lunch program.
Oh, okay.
I thought was pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty cool idea, so,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, they're doing stuff.
Who was doing the buying for the school?
Corey Rock.
Corey was, okay.
Yeah. They're doing stuff for outside of the school,
Traditional.
like it is, like, I
Fantastic.
mean, it's actually really cool. I'm thoroughly happy with what they're doing, so. Yeah, no, the school's doing great, so.
And Corey loves to be creative. I mean, the way the
Oh,
calendar works
get outside
is-
the box.
The way the calendar works is Monday, Tuesday this week were last 2 days of school, exams are all completed. But she thought was crazy enough, so I went with them and 3 other adults, we took all of grade 8 that wanted to and tented in Banff. for 2 days.
Nice.
Went out there and spent the night, and half those kids can't see Banff. It's an investment of time and money. It's gonna take them there, and hiked and wore them out, and
That's awesome.
then took them to Banff for a couple hours. It was really good, perfect end of the year. And he's quite creative. He's got some really cool ideas to move forward with that school.
which is awesome.
Oh, absolutely. The staff barbecue will be held where?
Community center.
Okay, I guess we can do the adjournment thing.
Are you doing a round table? or this is
Oh,
it?
I thought we,
Oh.
sorry, go ahead.
Can I add just
Yeah.
something else? Regarding the school, Bill Peters is the consultant working with, Prairies Canada, to generate, a feasibility study to support tourism. And in the process, he has gone to all the different businesses and the school and everything. And he has been, I think he's probably in his late 70s, early 80s. He has been doing projects all over the world and gone to all sorts of different places. And he said, the school that we have in Hanna is top notch. And for him to say that, he's also a designer and architect. Really, he lives in Calgary, and so we've had stuff to do with him with the roundhouse and such. And so he has all sorts of kudos and accolades for the school and everything that is going on with that. He said he was very impressed that it compares to even some of the schools down Ontario, down in the States or over in Europe. So for him to say something like that, I thought was so amazing. And so I just wanted to pass that on, that we have such an amazing school that we are not aware of, but others are, and doing what we are aware of it, you know what I mean? But maybe not as much as others that maybe have seen it and have something to compare to as well. So I just wanted to
Yeah, no,
congratulate our
it's-
school.
Well, the advice I got when I first moved to Hanna was stay out of the hockey, stay out of the golf, and the school is terrible. I'm proud to say that none of the three were accurate.
Yeah,
That was a resident that lived here, now being at the supply store side, with the various vendor or drop-off points. Anybody that comes to Hanna so far, I have had zero negativity, and I'm not. Because I'm the position I'm in, everybody's very supportive, and there's a young, middle-aged couple moved from Medicine Hat. And believe it or not, didn't like the hustle and bustle of Medicine Hat, so moved to Hanna, and I went, cool, like, to me, Medicine Hat wouldn't be hustle and bustle, but, and they said the same thing, there's everything here that we need and want, and it's awesome, so, okay. Counselor Olson, anything?
Nope, we did.
Counselor Murphy?
Just that, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the Acadia Foundation, we have to start a hiring process because Sandy Kelts has submitted her resignation. So we will be going through a tough process of finding someone who can help us figure out how to put bums in beds. So it's gonna be a little bit of work.
Counselor Kroll, you get the final kick.
Just a little something on, the Memorial, Veterans Memorial Highway. They've got a booklet coming out, supposed to be out in September. And it's advertising for all the communities along 36. From Coops all the way to Blackwoodish. And if the town or anybody else has anything that they would like to put into that, they can just forward the information to them and then we'll make sure it's on.
But they'll have, Council Crowe, they'll be sending something out to us, will they, or to you, in terms of what they are looking for, what costs,
Yeah,
deadlines, proofs?
there'll be no cost to
Okay,
it. But it, what they're doing is they're trying to highlight tourism, like campgrounds and campsites, and, you know, whatever.
along
And
the 36.
yeah, and any highlights, like there's quite a few these micro breweries along 36. they're trying to promote them, you know, like all, any of the new businesses that are.
So for example, here, obviously you're gonna pass Prairie Oasis,
Yeah.
Cactus Corner, I would think would hopefully would be included in that, yeah, Fox Lake, yeah, okay. But yeah, if there's anything that comes across in terms of what they're looking for in a print format,
For,
yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, I give them that information.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you everyone for your time and see you tonight. You can make it if you can. We will,
we will have our barbecue without you.
yeah.
We will eat- we will eat your share.
Yeah. So we'll move to adjourn.